Another day in the office, another fight that happened with the fans of some teams.
Oh, it's the story.
Do you want to start with that, or are we going to start on a?
You want to start from the hard
note?
part, right? From the hard part.
You have to rip the Band-Aid, I guess.
I don't know, man. For me, it's really sad because basically, if you take almost half of the top leagues we have in Europe, in every domestic championship, we had some really shameful incidents. Starting from...
You mean with the fans?
With the fans, including fans and players, or everything what has happened outside the basketball court, which the game should be all about, right? And, you know, you have this incident in Milan with fan provoking this shameful fuss between Virtus players and Milan fan. Then there was, I would say, overlooked incidents in the Israeli championship. With fans spitting on players.
And hitting the head of, I think, one player.
I think Onwako. I mean, yeah, it was Onwako.
Hitting his head or shoulder or whatever that was.
Probably. At least having this physical, contact with the player.
Completely unnecessary. The players were just going out from the tunnel and entering the court. And I mean, why would one do that, first of all? But just, I agree with you that it was a bit overlooked, in terms of the media recognition it got in Europe.
But it's not just about the media. The media shouldn't solve those issues, right? For instance, you mentioned unnecessary things, players coming out of the tunnel. How could you explain what happened in Serbia? I didn't follow the series from the start, but for me, it was enough to tune in for Game 3. The game is already delayed for like half an hour, as our Serbian beat writer Mindaugas Bartys warned before the game already. And initially there are a lot of things thrown on the court when Partizan players made their entrance. There was a glass bottle thrown into the players.
Wow.
Probably didn't hit anybody because probably
we would have heard about it.
Yeah, that's true. But at least there was a clear picture of this glass bottle, and I think that Danilo and you should try to get it before somebody from the security took it, because it's important for the table officials, I believe. Then we have fan almost throwing chair or at least threatening to throw a chair into the player. I think it was James Nunnally or anybody else. James Nunnally, again, having some crazy situation with the fan. A lot of unnecessary things, unexplainable things. And I mean,
someone was trying to throw a chair to the court.
Someone tried to do Nenad Krstic. And I mean, it's crazy. And the thing is that we had the same conversation last year, right? And we have the same conversation every year. The final game of the Greek championship, it was
interrupted and
the game was basically cancelled. So, I mean, we have
and you decided I mean, I know it was already decided because of the score, but you finish your league on a cancelled game.
Yeah. And the problem is that nobody cares about that. I mean, clubs, domestic leagues, because it's just crazy to think how we're enjoying this amazing Red Star and Partizan derby in the EuroLeague, even with the away fans coming to, let's say, Partizan or Red Star home court, celebrating the win, and nothing happens, right? Then somehow we turn the situation into throwing glass bottles or even chairs at the players. How this situation can turn into this way. And for me, it says that somehow in EuroLeague, they take care of these things. And in the domestic league, we have huge issues. And since I think that clubs, and as we see domestic leagues, ABA league or Greek league, doesn't matter, they're not controlling the situation for many years already. And that's why I think that FIBA should step in somehow. I mean, FIBA should step in as a main authority of international basketball. they should step in to protect the game, right? To protect the players. FIBA is like we all are kind of a big under the big umbrella of FIBA. So I think if nobody cares, FIBA should do something about it, right? Just to help the game, because what message these things send about our game?
Bastian Nachbar wrote on Twitter, I think, a perfect message. He wrote, "Are we even aware what is going on in many leagues around Europe? How can we expect the game to grow or attract new audiences if there are incidents happening at playoff games almost on daily basis? In general, basketball culture has improved, but it has a long way to go." And you were incredibly right by saying that, you said, we have these Belgrade derbies in EuroLeague and they're all okay. And then all of a sudden you go to domestic leagues and every year the story is the same. But it's not only in Serbia,
exactly.
We see that in EuroLeague, every domestic derby that happens is somehow, there is some culture, between the fans and the players. There are some incidents, as let's say the stakes get higher. For example, in the quarterfinal, Monaco, Maccabi, Sirius, and others. But in general, in the regular season, and it doesn't really happen in every game. Like we maybe had a one or two podcast where we said, oh, this shouldn't happen between the players and the fans during the all of the season. And then all of a sudden, the domestic league finals start, and you could have this conversation basically every 3 days, because there is a league, a final where Israeli, Greek, Serbia, Italy, Spain. I think Spain was probably the cleanest one, and they have the best basketball quality. So, we should do something. Not we, but the leagues or maybe even FIBA should do something to have this basketball culture, because we should be talking more about the games and not just what happened around the court. Mm-hmm. And now you have basically stories about finals being the fights and not the player performances, or not the defense Crvena Zvezda played yesterday, or not the Partizan offense that they played in the first two games. So I don't know. It's just it's sad that this is in the first picture, and we can't really protect the players.
Yeah. Okay, maybe let's start talking about basketball. By the way, this is the EuroBONUS podcast with Augustas Šliauskas and Donatas Urbonas. We will cover some of the domestic leagues finale. Some teams clinched the championships. We have fascinating series in ABA League, in ACB, also even Italian League, which we won't even discuss because we are kind of short of time, and we will for sure delay this discussion later in the future podcasts. There are some rumors to address. Of course, a big change in the EuroLeague with the new CEO, Paulius Motiejunas. So a lot of things to talk about, but as you already mentioned, Red Star Partizan.
Game 3,
except from all the incidents that happened. The game also was very interesting. A lot of interesting things to take from it, right? And I already saw you tweeted about Red Star playing super aggressive defense, which turned into a game changer for them to stay alive in the series, right?
It was before the series. You could understand that this series is going to be about. Is it either more of Partizan's offense, which was number one in the EuroLeague all season, or is it more about Zvezda's defense? Which one will prevail, which one will come out on top. Partizan did that in the first two games, and now with the home court advantage, and with basically a do or die situation for Zvezda, it was, they had to set the rhythm from the beginning, from early. They had to set that tone defensively, and they don't have anywhere to run. They don't have anywhere to hide. They have to do this if they want to continue the series, if they want to force a game 5. And you could see from the beginning, especially, that home court advantage plus that aggressive defense was the recipe right from the very first moments. You could see in the beginning, you could see that home court advantage working, like Zach Leedy missing 2 free throws because of all the noise. You could see James Nunnally losing the ball because of the atmosphere and the defense, while just simply dribbling the ball. And, looking at the whole game, the turnover count is the biggest difference here. Partizan committed 17 turnovers, while Zvezda had only 6. Zvezda also had 7 offensive rebounds, while Partizan had only 3. And this resulted in a field goal attempt advantage 62-46. Zvezda had 16 more shots from the court. It's hard not to win when you're shooting basically 25% more shots than your opponent. And to me, I wouldn't single out. It wouldn't be fair to say that only one person, did all the job from the defensive standpoint from Zvezda, because it was, Branko Lazic, aggressive on punter, Vildoza, Campazzo, everyone helped because it was a team effort. But first, I would love to mention Luka Vildoza. Like usually this guy is like a wild card because he is just all over defense. He likes to risk. He likes to, be in that middle position because he wants to get that steal and go in for a transition. But in this game, his good episodes doing this were much more impactful than the bad episodes he had. And what I mean by this is you have another player playing really aggressive defense, and he maybe does not see what is happening around him because there is such an aggressive defense. And then Luka Vildoza comes out of nowhere trying to steal the ball, and maybe Matthias Lesor travels. He steals the ball from behind. He had like 3 or 4 episodes like this, and it resulted in turnovers. While I remember only one episode where he there was a pick and pop situation. Zach Leedy was popping out to the 3-point line. Vildoza sees that he's popping out, the pass probably going to him. He is already here trying to steal the ball, go for a layup. But his guy, Yamadar, is completely alone under the basket. And Partizan evaluated the situation well. It's a easy layup for Amadar. And Facundo Campazzo is like, man, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are you leaving the guy under the basket? But this was the only bad episode from Vildoza, and those good episodes from him were just forced, 4 or 5 turnovers. So this was not only about him, but this time, his wild defense and was really beneficial in my eyes.
I was really impressed how Branko Lazic made Kevin Punter a ghost of himself. I mean, in the second half, I think that Kevin Punter, in the first 16 minutes of the second half, he made only one field goal attempt, and it was a very heavily contested mid-ranger over Branko Lazic.
I remember that one.
It was a very tough shot. The second field goal he had was a 9-meter three-pointer because, I mean, facing Branko, basically Lazic made him a, fan from the courtside seats, or let's say fan from the on-court seats somehow, because Lazic was always on him. He didn't let him to accept the ball easily. First of all, not even to take the ball in his hands, then made it very complicated. And in situations where Kevin was kind of trying to start to play ISO, usually Zvezda defense was dropping a double team defense. So he was, they forced him to pass the ball all the time. And in some situations, I really missed Kevin Punter. I mean, Partizan trying to get Kevin Punter more involved. Maybe it was possible. I mean, I always prefer finding Kevin Punter instead of Smailagic doing this Dirk Nowitzki kind of move. In a situation where you can still, try to win that game. But, I mean, the job they did was, and starting from Lazic, even though he got quite early third foul in the beginning of the third quarter, I mean, it was remarkable.
He was so aggressive, you could not even, call that foul. I mean,
yeah. And
Zvezda were so aggressive, you could, if the refs were a bit more stricter, if they called fouls like they usually do in a regular season game, Zvezda would have fouled out. But, finals, the playoffs are about this intensive defense. You up the level of intensity. And the refs allow more. That's normal. Partizan fans should not be upset about this. They should expect their players to, make their defense to adjust and to play the same kind of intensive defense. Lazic was outstanding. maybe Partizan tried to involve punter more, but I was just what I saw on the pick and roll. They were basically going 2 people on Kevin Punter. Like he was not able to do anything because 2 guys are on him. And the guy from the weak side is coming to take the roller, but the guy from the weak side is already standing on the free throw line even before just as pick and roll happens. Like Kevin Punter has this long skip pass, but there are 2 guys on him. The pass is really hard. But how early Zvezda sent that weak side help to the roller, there was not like short roll possibility wasn't even there. So Punter's options were so limited, and that's why he had like 10 shots, I think, and most of
7
them
from free. Yeah,
and most of them were 3-pointers and really forced tries. So incredible defense on Punter. What else do we have? Transition, I think, was a big key for Zvezda, but that's normal when you have so many forced turnovers. I think it was 11 points in transition for Zvezda, only 5 for Partizan. Partizan players were kind of trying to go for steals in transition. That was kind of weird.
They weren't smart enough to clinch the series, especially in the end of the third quarter. A lot of stupid fouls in bonus situations that costed him a lot of easy points. In the fourth quarter as well, defensively, it didn't look like they were playing until the last action of the possession. Trying to get a foul call from the referee on the offense or defensively. I just saw Zvezda being more determined to win that game, and they adjusted to the referees the way they allowed the level of contact they allowed. They adjusted it better than Partizan, so I'm expecting big adjustments from Partizan for the game 4.
And I think we have to give credit to Vildoza's 2 3-pointers in the fourth quarter. Basically, just facing up the defender and just, okay, you're defending me like this, I'm gonna knock down a 3-pointer from 7.5 meters and with the hand in the face. And we haven't mentioned him until now, but Nemanja Nedovic was the guy in this game in offense. Basically, in the fourth quarter, I think he scored 10 points. I don't have the exact number, but
19 in overall.
But 19 overall. He basically, scored all the points in the first and the fourth quarter. One-on-one, unstoppable shots, pull-up jump shots. Just has all the moves. That burst of speed in this game worked perfectly, and basically showed that in this game nobody could stop him. Doesn't matter who was in front of him, he was just better. And just like Zvezda adjusted maybe against Kevin Punter, if I'm Nedovic, I would expect similar type of more aggressive defense against myself in game 4. So, but he was the guy in this game and basically won them the game by his offense.
Luka Mitrovic was doing Luka Mitrovic things: 16 points, 7 rebounds, 3 offensively. As
Some
much
post-ups.
as a whole Partizan team, 3 assists, amazing game by him, and as you mentioned, a lot of different pieces that made this winning puzzle for Rezdar. But at the same time, knowing that Jelko is in charge over there, we can expect for some adjustments. And
I expect a more close game in game 4. I think it will be. I think Partizan will make some adjustments. Will be a bit more concentrated on defense, and I expect a close game. To they don't want this to go to 5 games, so it should be a great one.
Speaking of adjustments, Real Madrid is down against Barca 0-2. But it sounds like we heard this scenario already, right?
Where did we hear this story, right?
Yes, and the history says that 16 of 16's finals where the leading team was up by 2-0, they won the series. It's also something we kind of heard before, right?
No team has come back from 2-0 deficit in EuroLeague quarterfinals. I was expecting Sergio Llull to make a move, to be honest. No, I'm kidding.
Well, he was close.
He was trying.
He was really close.
Trying.
The difference was that this time Sharas understood if Mustafa Fall cannot, block the shot, let's throw two guys on Sergio Llull, which worked perfectly. You have one of the tallest point guards, Satoransky, and then you have Mirotic, who was he knew already, I'm not going to chase Vincent Poirier and him making the screen. I don't care about that side of the play. I'm just going at Sergio Llull, and together we will try to contest that shot. And which, worked perfectly. So kudos to Miro and probably Sharas, who knew it from the beginning.
Probably everyone knew it. I mean, that Sergio is going to take a shot. I was talking with a friend after this game, and he was like, "Did just Mateo did not draw anything up in the last possession? Like it was a complete improvisation?" I was like, I rewinded the play. There was Vincent Poirier trying to set a screen for Hezonja, but I think Sergio Llull, with the way he played in this game, he had some crazy shots in the fourth quarter.
Again,
crazy shots to us, not crazy shots to Sergio Llull, because that 3-pointer in transition,
contested by Mirotic,
one against everybody, and he just rainbows it.
And where there was this dagger with 1:15 to play, the parachute 3-pointer.
You can't call it dagger. They lose. They lost.
Yeah, but this it should have been the dagger for Madrid.
True.
Because they were down. I mean, Barca was down by 6 with less than 2 minutes to play. They pulled out a huge victory in the series.
So I was like, after you make shots like this, you probably just, you get the ball and you try to make a play in the beginning, like we have seen so many times. But Barca played really good defense on that one. Maybe there was, some Nicolas Laprovitola trying to box out Vincent Poirier under the baskets. Maybe a foul with 0.5 seconds, one second remaining. But I'm not sure if you want to decide the game in that way.
Because they already almost decided the game on the free throw line. If I'm the Adam Silver of the ACB, if I'm Paulius Motiejunas of the ACB, straight after the game, I'm calling the president or whoever is in charge of Referees Association in Spain, and I say, guys, I don't want the final series game 2 decided. I mean, the last 3, except from prior to this Llull's shot, 3 consecutive plays and 3 situations were decided by referee calls. And the problem is...
4. Tavares missed 2 free throws.
Okay, wow.
And then there was 3 sequences, 2 of 2.
And I don't remember, it was the sequence with Hezonja making an offensive foul, although I don't see any foul there. And maybe if there was a foul...
You don't see a foul there on Hezonja?
I saw the foul on Hezonja and on Yabusele as well. I mean, it was not foul by Hezonja and Yabusele. It wasn't foul for me.
Hezonja against Mirotic.
Yeah.
That wasn't basketball. That was just
straight Mirotic shoving. Was already grabbing Hezonja. And the main thing which I noticed, from my angle, from my view...
Oh, that's okay. We can argue.
It was not Hezonja's foul because Mirotic already fall down for Hezonja even before making this push, So I just think that Mirotic tried really hard to fall.
That was not basketball. That was, like I said, some wrestling. It seemed like I would have probably...
I would have a screenshot.
I would have probably called the foul on both guys.
I want to do Dimitris Atudis thing now.
Let's go.
Look at the screen. Is there any assistant coach or Ardonas? Can you come and play clips? Look, this is the situation. And look at both pairs. Mirotic with Hezonja, and then there's Yabusele and Shanli. And Shanli was doing this thing all the time. And of course, Barca fans will blame me now. But I mean...
Thanks, Dimitris.
Thanks for the assistant of Dimitris. Then there was another situation, the thing with La Provitola.
That was what
That was a smart read by La Provitola, because you know why? You see that referees, they're calling every foul basically, and they were down by 1, right?
Right.
And La Provitola knew that even though if he gets an advantage going through Tavares, he knew that Tavares will block him from behind. So what do? You just basically, he was so quick that he stepped into the lane of Tavares, and it was kind of for sure that Tavares will run into him. So it was just basically of trying to find the contact, which he did with his legs probably, and got this, foul whistle. It was just a smart play by La Provitola.
There, I wouldn't have called a foul though.
I wouldn't call a foul in neither of these situations, because that's I don't want to decide this. Oh, the same for the defense against Barcelona fans. I think that this Vesely block against Sergio Llull also had those free throw shots for, I would say, clean block, and it was also a 5th foul on Vesely, but he was playing double team with Abrinas. I think it was a clear block, no foul, nothing. So to the defense against Barcelona fans, I think that referees ruined the party for both teams, which I want to say that I want the game to be decided not on the free throw line, but playing through, physical game with the contacts, and I'm just allowing this kind of contact.
True, but yeah, if there's too much contact, then something has to be called. What I wanted to say about something about those fouls and everything. I mean, I agree with you in to some extent. It was probably one of the best games of the season. To be honest.
Exactly.
Like the quality level of ACB finals is just insane. Like you could see that these two teams are in the Final Four of the EuroLeague for the last couple of years, and just watching the other domestic league finals, maybe on the same day or the other day, just going through all the games, trying to watch as much as possible right now. Like Real Madrid against Barcelona is just the quality, is the gap between this final and all the other finals is incredible. Like even with the Italian league finals, even with Greek league finals, it's ABA league finals, you could see that these two teams are in the top of the EuroLeague each year, and there is a reason. Barca scored on all possessions when they were -6, 72-78.
Okay.
They scored 14 points, I think, and they scored on every possession. There's like Satoransky 2 free throws, then Mirotic scoring a 3-pointer, then La Provitola in a semi-transition, Shanli making a 3-pointer from the corner, even though he was looking away to make an extra pass, and I was like, no way this is going in, because he kind of hesitated. He knocks it in, so that's 4 possessions. Then they scored 2 free throws, Mirotic, because of the foul on the rebound. Then they score with La Provitola 2 free throws, so that's 6 possessions straight. They scored points to end the game. So they needed some great offense to win this game too, even though this seemed like going Real Madrid's way. But this is huge, like them going up 2-0. And instead of going 1-1 back to Madrid, I think it's a difference maker in this series. I think this wins the series for Barca, because I don't really see, we talked about Real Madrid.
Don't do that mistake again.
Being underestimate Real Madrid.
This is over 2-0.
No. They can,
Come on.
This has to be the time someone is right underestimating Real Madrid.
Nope. Never underestimate Real Madrid. That's the lesson I've learned. So
you're saying Real Madrid wins the series?
No. I'm just saying that it's not over yet.
No, I'm not saying it's over yet, but I'm saying that, Barca will win the series. They decided
this series, yeah. So
Barca will win the series.
A little bit more patient without any statements.
Why? We are here to, do some hot takes as well. Anything to add about this game?
I would say
Janan Musa. First 2 games, only 7 points.
Okay.
Just like he was kind of a bit disappointing with his play in the Final Four. in some games of the playoffs. I think he has scored like 7 points in 2 games, making 3 shots of 11. Not dealing that well with maybe the aggressive defense, and maybe sometimes trying to do a bit too much, sometimes. So I just expect from him next season to add this as a player. He's still super young guy.
Yeah.
So had a great regular season. Was my pick for all first team EuroLeague. So for the next season, the improvement would be to handle the pressure better, and maybe with the higher physicality level to perform better. But I expect him to bounce back in Madrid.
My last take about the particular game. Before Vesely getting this ridiculous call for the 5th foul, Barcelona's closing lineup for the game was Satoransky, Laprovitola.
Mm-hmm.
No, even after that or some place before that. The Barca, they were closing the game with Satoransky, Laprovitola, Kalinic, Mirotic, and Shanli. So just to tease you, I'm not going to, I'm going to leave some food for thought. Just to tease you, it's very likely that only one guy of this closing lineup will remain in Barcelona roster for the next year.
Satoransky?
I don't know.
I'm
just teasing you.
Satoransky.
There's very high chance.
Okay.
So it's some food for thought.
There will be so many changes in Barcelona. And starting next week.
And starting from the most expensive player in Europe, Nikola Mirotic, and he had a lot of questions to answer after the information broke out. First of all, about Milan, him, let's say, agreeing to Olimpia Milan, which he also denied. And from what we heard, it's not that close yet as it was announced. For sure, Milan is a very likely option for Mirotic, and there's a high chance that he'll end up there, but there's no decision yet, which he also confirmed. But the bigger thing that was published in Spanish media was that Barcelona told him that his contract will be terminated, which is true. Just the difference is that, as Mirotic revealed later, that he was informed about it by the club 2 or 3 nights before the start of the ACB playoffs. So the
playoffs, or the final
playoffs against Valencia. Mm-hmm. And what was very unique and rare, and the situation where I can hardly find any comparison, let's say, on the highest level, EuroLeague Final Four or NBA playoffs. I don't remember a situation where on the eve of the final series against Real Madrid, Mirotic gave an exclusive interview to Mundo Deportivo where he explained all this weird situation with Barca, where he kind of, voiced his opinion and view that it was not fair by the club to end this, cooperation, let's say, this way, by saying, "Hey, Miro, we are terminating your contract, although you have 2 years left." And the problem that he addressed on this interview, he said that I was ready to try to, find an agreement to reduce the salary. I was ready to listen to all the options, but the problem was that Barca didn't even offer that. They were very straight with their decision. We want to continue without you, Mirotic. And then he had to come out publicly to explain his situation to all the fans. And you have this crazy situation on the eve of the final series. The good thing is that both players, both Coach Jasikevičius, they knew about Barca's decision, because I think that Mirotic himself informed about it the whole team. Not to have any untold things, and especially when things might come out publicly during the series or later. So as we saw also from his game, he wasn't affected by that. I mean, the first game after being informed by Barca that he's gone after the season, he scored 27 points against Valencia, hitting 7 threes. So it shows how strong mentally he was, although he was facing some crazy weeks. You have this miserable game against Real Madrid in the semifinals. Now you're being told by the club that your cooperation will finish after the season without getting into any further negotiations. So it was tough to handle, but he showed his great mindset approaching the playoffs. Even in game 2 against Real Madrid, scoring 25 points, being super important behind that win. But just what do you think about the whole situation in general?
When you were just saying all of this, I thought once again how the players are not protected in my eyes. Like, you have a guaranteed deal, which a team gave you, basically. You signed on it and a team decided on it. And now they're not standing up to the financial commitment. Probably he's going to...
he will get some compensation.
But
it's not like he's going to get 10 million in 2 years.
Exactly. But he's not getting that money that he signed up for.
So it's supposed to be guaranteed money.
It's supposed to be guaranteed.
There's nothing guaranteed in Europe.
But in Europe, basically... And, Mirotic saying that he would have tried to find a way to extend the deal, maybe by getting less money, tells me Barcelona just decided, okay, after what we saw in the Final Four, we don't want this guy anymore on our team. And they can just do that, basically, without paying all the money that's guaranteed. And I think that's not how contracts should work in Europe.
Because there's a reason why the player makes a 5-year commitment. He chooses your team because you gave him, you kind of...
the long-term stability.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big factor, big advantage you take into account when you make this decision to go to Barca, to go to Milan, to go to Panevėžys, or to go to NBA, whatever. And then after 3 years, basically in the middle of your agreement, you say, no, we don't want you. So can you find a team to get a compensation? We pay you a split, a half, and do your thing. It shouldn't work that way.
It should not.
In the NBA, you might be traded or whatever. You might be waived, but you're still getting the all money back. So yeah, that's another situation for anybody to step in and to solve that out, because it's unfair.
It's just basically
you ask a commitment from a player and you're not staying fully committed to your contract. So I don't get it.
Not fair from players' perspective. I hope this gets solved with the Players Association in the upcoming years. We have this problem every year in Europe that if you're not performing, basically it depends if you're performing or not. But if you're not like, first of all, you signed the contract from how you played last season. Like, so your money should not be affected by how you played, this year. Yeah. If I'm still getting that money, if the team signed a long-term deal, teams have to be responsible for the contracts they give out. So, and just that.
I feel bad about Mirotic in a way that he gets, I wouldn't call it a lot of blame, but a lot of criticism, a lot of hate as well. Because let's say he's top paid player in Europe, he should perform better in semifinal games. He's choking in the most important games of the season. But at the same time, that's, if you're blaming the guy for getting 5 million euros, that's actually, the front office should be blamed for giving him so much money. It's about their decision to give such a big portion of your budget, such a big amount of money, and not for he's not fault that he got this kind of financial reward, and he didn't change whether he was paid 1 million or 5 million. He didn't change, so it's up to front office to make responsibility for the moves, and they should be criticized. If you're criticizing anybody in this situation, I'm not criticizing anybody, but if somebody is criticizing, the front office should get the most blame and hate, not the player.
True.
That's how I look at those agreements. That's the discussion we actually had before Žalgiris and Rytas series. Karolis Lukašiūnas gets a lot of hate in Lithuania because he's getting paid for, let's say, by Lithuanian standards or whatever, he's getting paid too much in many eyes. But what does he have to do with it? It's about front office, giving him that paycheck.
True.
It's not his fault. He didn't change. So, it should be treated differently.
Talking about changes,
We're protecting players a lot. I mean, Elpa should send us some gifts.
This podcast is sponsored
some
by
benefits. Yeah. We should be sponsored by Elpa. We're not sponsored yet, but we should be sponsored. We should, get some money.
Talking about changes, there was one more topic we were about to discuss, which is connected with changes. And you said, come to the podcast prepared 3 changes for the EuroLeague and for the new CEO, Paulius Motiejunas. So since I did the intro to this topic, you can go first.
Okay, I was talking too much on the last topic, so I was hoping that you would start. But okay.
No, if you want me to start, I can start. Don't worry.
I will start from the first change I want. As a media member from Paulius Motiejunas, I want, let's say, Adam Silver approach. If there's this historically infamous fight in Madrid, I want the CEO of the EuroLeague to address the media and the entire basketball community, players, coaches, front office people, fans, everybody, and to share your views, to share your, evaluation of the situation. Was the process following the situation? Was the possible outcome of the situation? And just in general, to address this thing with the basketball community, because it's a huge thing. Not some, if there's the situation with Facundo Campasso, I also want, the EuroLeague CEO to address it immediately. I don't want to, to try to hear what CEO thinks about this whole situation from some
speculations
or speculation or interview for Spanish media outlets, because if it's not going to be quoted by international media, nobody knows, what's the evaluation of the situation. I mean, it shouldn't work this way. And knowing how, I would say, vocal Paulius Motiejunas, or knowing his approach on media, and let's say the way he handles Žalgiris' financial situation. Before every season, he hosts press conference where he explains, where he gives a clear financial report of the budget of the previous season and expected and planned budget for the following season. I mean, with clear lines, players and coaches' salaries, some other expenses, ticketing and stuff. And it was one of his ideas, how things should be handled here in Lithuania. I think mainly because Žalgiris is also sponsored a lot by the municipality, but at the same time, I kind of expect the same level of transparency from him when he stepped into this position. So I have hopes that he will please me with his mindset over this question.
Okay. I will go with the most probably simplest one to start, schedule. I want EuroLeague taking over the schedule department. And I know the deal with the televisions, kind of disturbs that question. But somehow you have to find a way for a casual fan to watch as much games as possible. And I'm talking about, you have 2 games on Thursday. You have at least 2 games on every day that EuroLeague is played. You can watch at least 2 games. So it should be like a 7 p.m. CET start, 1 game, and at least 1 game on 7, and at least 1 game at 9, or whatever that time is. The 2-hour difference every day. So you can watch 4 games out of 9 on each round, and you make a playoff schedule that is also the same. Like with quarterfinals, basically, you have 4 pairs, and you have 2 pairs playing on each day. So a casual fan, in theory, should be able to watch all the games.
Yeah.
You start them by 2-hour, difference, and a casual fan can watch EuroLeague basketball, all playoff games, be up to date with all pairs, do not have to switch screens. I think that would help a lot with the content creation, with the engagement of the fan. Maybe casual fans that are looking to how other teams are playing could be more into the players, know more about the players, know more about the teams, and just it's a simple fix in my eyes, and like a simple suggestion, but not as simple to make, I would say, because of the deals that EuroLeague has. But I just hope some way it gets done.
I think it's all about the new IMG deal, which.
But the new IMG, the deal is until 2026. You told me, right?
That's the thing. So
we shouldn't expect differences.
I don't expect quick changes because now the final word is on televisions, and let's say that's according to the contract. They all look up to what's better for the French TV, for the Italian TV, and etc. And I believe that it might be even impossible for the CEO to change it. But I hope.
Isn't the home games, the time of home games decided by the teams? Like Žalgiris, for example, they play at 8 every game. Is this decided by the team or by the TV?
It's team combined with TV, I would say. And basically, it's more about the TV.
So can okay.
Because I had this unofficial discussion with the EuroLeague people, and I get it. In some regions, in some locations, to schedule the game 1 hour earlier, let's say instead of 8 at 7, it can cause some issues of getting the gym packed with fans, or getting troubles to get expected viewership on their local TV. But for instance, when we have the playoffs, it's no longer a local interest. It's no longer about having seven games per one night and then trying to please everybody. No, it's impossible. So that's where you focus on local regions, local markets. But it's a playoff time. Whole Europe is watching. You should not focus only what French, Tel Aviv, Serbian audience want. You have to focus on what whole Europe is going to watch and how they are going to handle the schedule, because now it's becoming European thing, and now you have these games streamed on ESPN. I mean, you have to think about it globally, and I believe that these changes won't be possible until they will make a new deal with IMG, or anybody else. It doesn't matter, but the deal will end and expire in 2026, but the new deal will start to be in the makings way earlier. So I hope that Paulius Motiejunas, will kick off some clear rules on the agreement that is going to be made, or at least he will push for a kind of change. I'm not sure if it's possible, but I have it also. This whole thing includes in my third request to Paulius Motiejunas, which is the new EuroLeague friendly TV deal, where the EuroLeague has the final word on organizing some things, or at least, keeping a veto right in some particular situations.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it should be, the main engine for EuroLeague to grow, the TV deal.
One of the main. Yeah,
one of the
for
main.
sure. For sure, they have to make more money than from the current deal.
Exactly. So you named already.
And also to set the standard for the quality of our broadcasts, starting from halftime reporters, let's say, from the content they're creating or the way they're creating the content. Of course, you have to take care of the commentators. Maybe you can push some ideas for pre-game studios in all regions, just to grow the interest, just to create content and interest and make it, let's say, mandatory to do something like that.
Would you make it, let's say those studios you mentioned, would you make it in English, like
I would
streamed on EuroLeague TV, or you make a necessity for regional TV to have a...
I would start with the necessity for the local markets, but then, of course, I would think
That's harder to do, I think.
Could be. But still, if you want to reach some level, I mean, that's what you have to do. But for sure, the ultimate goal would be some EuroLeague TV content. The hardest part is just to get all those big names or big people. Let's say EuroLeague's Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kenny Smith in one studio. It probably cannot work on Zoom, or at least it should be.
No.
It should be.
This should be made live.
Yeah, so it's tough to get all those people in one place.
It's all about the money.
That's true, and it's not like EuroLeague has a lot of money, so that's the issue they have.
Okay, so if you don't have money to make changes, then one change is not about the money, and that's an obvious one: a playing tournament. I expect this to start from next year.
Yeah, we're already too late, at least for 1 year with this decision, right?
I agree, and I would even add a relegation tournament. Hear me out. I know there are teams that have a license.
Exactly.
But I thought about it. Okay. What about those teams that don't have a license, the wildcard teams, who are the lowest in the standings? Those two play a series as well. Maybe between the Final Four and quarterfinals, when you have that break, they play a best of 3 series. Who doesn't get a wild card for next year? Because usually now, how many wild cards are there? How many teams are playing with the wild card? Partizan.
So we have 13
Zvezda,
teams, shareholders, EuroCup champions, in some situations EuroCup runner-up team. Let's say it's from
4, 5, 6.
4 or 5, between 4 and 5.
So if you have this, because I know that the lowest team cannot play because usually it's an A licensed team. If you have this, that would make a regular season much more exciting until the very end. No wild card wants to finish last and don't have a chance for next year.
You cannot do load management tricks.
Exactly.
Unless you're Villeurbanne and they have the A license. Yeah. Okay.
But still, this would make the regular season, the end of regular season, much more interesting for a chance to who gets to stay next year.
I see.
And for some more stories to have.
Yeah.
In the second part of the standings.
That's a good idea to make things more spicy. Of course, before we have to handle this potential and very likely BCL and EuroCup merge. How you gonna handle this, whole system of the competition? Way more teams under your umbrella. So, but if you managed, to find the perfect system for the second tier competition, then you can think of some relegation ideas. I actually had this play-in idea involved in my second request, which is called let's say clear direction of the competition. The regular season and the playoffs formats, which includes the play-in tournament, where the expansion will take place first, how many teams will play, and I actually expected many of these answers right now, basically from Marshall Glickman's administration, but that's maybe even one of the biggest issues, that EuroLeague shareholders didn't get that clear picture how the competition will evolve in the upcoming years. And maybe that's the big expectation that Paulius Motiejunas has from the shareholders, giving him this, responsibility of being in charge of the EuroLeague. And at least from what I've heard from Motiejunas, just sharing his thoughts about the EuroLeague, he once said that he thinks that the 20-team regular season is the most realistic. Speaking of the potential expansion, he really likes the Dubai's market. He's not afraid of those long trips. He even mentioned interesting thing that there's back-to-back games idea alive, in case you will have to, to deal with the scheduling issues. Having
2 games on 2 days, you mean?
Yeah. Let's say one team is visiting Istanbul and you're playing Fener and Efes the following day. Or there's this, fast train between Barca and Madrid if you're staying in this region. So at least there is this idea alive. So a lot of interesting thoughts from Motiejunas' side. Not sure how it fits the rest of, now it's 13 shareholders, because Motiejunas will have to forget that he has green blood in his veins.
So are you saying that potentially we might have a EuroLeague team playing on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday in the near future?
I'm not sure if we're talking about triple game weeks, but I've just heard that he was aware of this back-to-back games idea.
Okay.
And it's not like Motiejunas will be pushing for it, but the way he talked about it, it didn't look like he was like hesitating, or he was like very skeptical about it. So
okay,
that's interesting thing. But just in overall, I want a clear direction by the EuroLeague competition.
Anything else? When you wrote this message to me, this question, you had the EuroLeague on Netflix idea. I remember we talked about this. I'm not sure Netflix would be interested in this, but if you could arrange this, that would be awesome. Like, we know the results.
A lot of content. Yeah.
We know the results it gave Formula One. Like, by the time Formula One was like not interested to anyone, especially to my age group, like 25 between 34, our age group. And right now there were 18 races, I think, by the time the show came out. Now we have like 23 or 24. This is like the record of races in Formula right now. The USA market, they had one race, I think, before the show, and it was about to get eliminated because there were not enough spectators coming. They were not getting enough from tickets. Now they have 3 races in the United States. They have one in Mexico, and so they grew a lot in that market as well. And just EuroLeague on Netflix would be great for the EuroLeague. Not sure how much for the viewer, how much the viewers would get into it, but it could be, some potential here.
I don't know if it's one of the priorities on Motiejunas' agenda.
No, definitely not a priority on his agenda.
But watching how Žalgiris work, watching how much stuff they put about their team, they have this Žalgiris insider platform, which you have to subscribe, and it's another way for the club to get some money from the fans. I have high expectations that it's really important. The content creation is really important for Motiejunas. And as I said, I'm not sure if it's like the 3rd, 5th, 9th, or 13th thing on Motiejunas things to do right now with the EuroLeague. And I'm not sure if it's it's for a guy who joined the EuroLeague, who became the CEO only on a 1-year contract. But I really think that he has it in his mind, and he will try to do something without it. To help to push the EuroLeague toward this direction of creating more maybe unique content or creating content differently. Because watching how things work in Žalgiris, it feels like it's really important for him. And actually put more things which you can expect from Paulius Motiejunas and his leadership and the EuroLeague under his guidance on an article which is available exclusively only for Beyond Plus members. So join basketnews.com/plus, become our members. We have some great offers right now, and you will have a lot of extra content, including this article with some few main points about Paulius Motiejunas and what ideas he might be bringing to the EuroLeague. Last topic. Not the last topic. We missed this question. I actually had this question for you before we'll start, let's say, teasing for the NBA draft with Victor Wembanyama. I skipped this question. I forgot about this question I had for you.
Again, like last week with the rank me top 10 free agents for Pau.
Yeah. I like to throw you some unexpected things, but what really not kind of really surprised, but what was interesting for me from that Nikola Mirotic interview on Mundo Deportivo was that he mentioned that he thinks that NBA remains as an option for him. He's becoming a free agent. There's a very short list of potential EuroLeague teams that might go after Nikola Mirotic.
Like 2.
like 2. I wouldn't, again, like with Real Madrid, never underestimate Red Star. They made some crazy signings before, so Mirotic,
free teams.
Mirotic, and I think that Red Star, they're in love with Mirotic. I think that Mirotic also respects Red Star a lot. So I'm not saying that they're real contenders, but when the big free agent hits the market, never underestimate Crvena Zvezda. That's what I learned from the last season with Campasso.
Okay.
But my question is about the NBA. Do you see it realistic? Would you see NBA teams going after Mirotic, and probably knowing his stock, his status and at what kind of point of his career he is. He turns 33 in February or January. Probably he wants to win the title if he's going there, right? Do you see any title contender team which needs to add some shooting, and especially on their front line? Do you see realistic NBA cases for Miro?
I believe if he is available to go there for a minimum contract, I think he would have some market. Shooting is what every basically team needs as much as possible, contending team. And so I can imagine a couple of teams trying to look to add him, in the summer after all the moves are made. There are teams after yesterday's trade, what Phoenix did. There are teams that have 4 players under contract for next year. So if you're willing to sign for a veteran minimum, why not add Mirotic? I mean, he's more or less the same player that he was when he left the NBA. I don't see him, declining. As some might say, he's still a similar player to what he was, and I imagine he could have market if he's willing to go there for way less money that he could get here in Europe.
Yeah, I think that knowing that he turned down this Utah Jazz offer before joining Barca, and again being almost turning 33, I think that if he's going to the NBA, he would like to play for a big market team, and again for a title contender team, and probably that's only the question of money. I think that he kind of earned enough money or solid amount of money in the NBA. At least there's 41 million of earnings. Of course, a lot of goes on taxes, but still he had some huge contracts in Europe. So I don't think that there's this huge difference for him, at least for the upcoming year. And okay, maybe there's difference if you can cover this. Now I'm saying cover because he will need to terminate the contract. He will need to find another team which will have to compensate the rest of the contract, which was supposed to be in Barca. So the gap might be 3-4 million euros, and that's huge, actually.
True, but the reason he came back was basically he wanted to be the main guy, and now he was the main guy for 3 years in a row. Maybe he still thinks, he wants to achieve to be a role player on a winning team in the NBA. So if the money is not a big question, if Barca is still compensating
that's
a huge part of his contract,
he will get a lot of money from Barca.
Why not?
And I actually think that he might get, let's say, if he will say that, okay, guys, I'm taking this large pay cut by you, but I'm not signing with any other European team for the next season, but I'm going to the NBA. I think that Barca will be willing to pay, him more than in a case where he joins another EuroLeague team, because, okay, you give him 3 million euros, the other EuroLeague team gives him 1.5, and you're killing Barca in the Final Four, and you're basically paid by Barca, not by your new team. That would be a ridiculous situation, right?
True.
But if you give him 3 million euros and say, or even more, and you say, Miro, you have to go to the NBA, maybe he's accepting this, minimum offer from the NBA. Wow, we have a solution for Mirotic and Barca. That's amazing. That's an amazing podcast, really.
Last topic about Wembanyama.
Yeah. When those top NBA draft prospects were tested they're tested in NBA workouts, Wembanyama was tested by one of the top 30 teams in the world, as he said.
Monaco.
By Monaco, yeah.
French league champions and the third best EuroLeague team.
That's a huge test, right?
This season. That's a huge test. I think.
What lessons he's taking from that test?
That it's hard to play against grown men, and it's much harder to play against them than, let's say, NCAA or high school that he's kind of supposed to be if he went to the States. Right now, we saw his insane potential in this series. I mean, some of the shots he makes doesn't really make sense for a guy this tall to be able to make a double between the leg dribble into a step back three. That's unguardable. But at the same time, we saw him used as a off-ball player also a lot because he can handle smaller players being glued to him and just pushing his base. And he loses his balance. He loses his, let's say, ability to drive to the rim because he just falls not towards the rim, but, out of bounds, let's say, on some drives. And at the same time, seeing the defense like this, physical defense against him by smaller players, I imagine that the NBA and the hand-checking rule will help him a lot, because now you see guys hand-checking him all the time. In the NBA, you can't really do that. You can't push the guy that much as some of these Monaco players were doing in the finals. So I think in the NBA, the rules will help him a bit more already in the first year. And I'm not sure if the NBA teams immediately try to put smaller defenders on him because they see that, you can push him away and limit his impact on the court. But at the same time, the stuff he does right now already at 19 years old on the court is something we probably never seen before with his height. And I just really can't wait to finally see him after a season he had here. Can't wait to see him maybe in the Summer League, maybe in the World Cup, because Vincent Collet said that it would be great for him to play for France, even though I really doubt that the NBA San Antonio will allow him to do that.
Yeah, but the thing is that he's a baller. He wants to play in every competition.
But I think sometimes it's not only a player's decision when the talk is about should you come to the national team or not.
There are NBA recommendations not to play somewhere. Him playing in the World Cup would be a huge thing for FIBA because, there's this Jokic thing where it's very uncertain if he will play in the FIBA World Cup. Giannis, was he already fully committed to playing for the national team? I didn't hear that. I kind of have no doubts about Luka because for him, Slovenia national team is like, holiday trip for him, just spending time with his friends and playing basketball, smoking shisha, drinking some beer and winning some titles. That's how it goes for Luka. It's his summer. So I kind of expect him to play, but if let's say Jokic, Giannis is not playing and Wembanyama is not playing, that's bad for the competition. But vice versa, if let's say Wembanyama plays, that changed the whole thing actually, and especially in the group. I don't remember where they're playing. Is it in Indonesia or probably not Japan? But it would, it would be extra because France, even with Rudy Gobert, with Evan Fournier, with all these stars, I see the numbers. They're not so popular at all. They're one of the least popular teams, at least internationally, the least followed teams internationally. But Wembanyama, he would change things, and there's this huge attention from the NBA. There's Greg Popovich praying that he's not getting injured in the competition, so that would add a lot of value. But
I just don't see San Antonio risking it. Like you have a guy that's this tall, and all of a sudden he's the first pick, and right before his rookie campaign, he's playing the World Cup, doing all the preparation and stuff. And if he's playing in the Summer League, probably he's going to play like 1 or 2 games, maybe. Like we saw with Paolo Banchero last year, playing.
They're just selling tickets, giving fans what they want, and they're just shutting down guys, which I understand from the NBA perspective.
So you just don't want him to get injured, and with his Wembanyama's height, there's always a question mark about that. So I don't really see how San Antonio says, okay, he's playing in the early September in the World Cup right before his rookie season, because you don't want another Chet Holmgren story. Like, even though Chet Holmgren was just, practicing while he got injured, playing pickup games, you don't want to have even more risk with Wembanyama.
Yeah. Speaking of the French final series, John Brown did a really great job containing him. I watched the almost entire game 1, where he didn't let him to basically shoot the field goal or force him to shoot some crazy shots. And I watched the last minutes of the game 3, where Monaco won this amazing game in an amazing crowd of 15,000 people, where the Roland Garros tournament is held. And it was amazing atmosphere. It's just amazing to see, French basketball attracting such an audience out there in Paris. But in the last 3, 4, 5 minutes, he barely get a touch, I would say, and that's what probably we won't see in the NBA. I mean, we can expect him to get way more touches, so he will be even more involved. Although he managed to recover after this game 1, he scored 19 and then 22 in the following games. But yeah, that was a tough test, and I love Jordan Lloyd's 3-pointers in the end. The 3-pointer from Logo basically clinched the title for Monaco, the historically first title, French league title for Monaco club. I loved the tweet of Jordan Lloyd after the game. Only one ball was needed, and there was Mike James, Elio Koba, and Jordan Lloyd in the picture. It was a great response. I love players tweeting after championships. The same like Will Clyburn. After the final game, he tweeted, "Hey Fener fans, how are you doing tonight? My knee is doing great. Thanks for the positive thoughts. Elijah Bryant, what's good? Where are we at?" So actually, I expected from him something after the semifinal series against Fenerbahce, but it's obvious that he kept some.
He wanted to make sure he wins the title.
Yeah.
True.
So yeah, very interesting season finale. I will miss these guys. Did you see Mike James' response to Will? Okay.
I see you getting a
Mike
master's
James
degree.
Schools of social media. Yeah. So
what's left? EuroLeague.
We might have this watch party tomorrow at Augusta's.
We should do. There are 2 games that you can watch.
Yeah.
Not like EuroLeague quarterfinals.
Yeah.
So yeah. Will we be back for one more? Okay.
I'm not sure about this week. Maybe the following week. I just got the voice message from Eric, just asking him his availability after finishing the Turkish League final series, because I also want to get him involved before we will do a short summer break.
He will probably have a lot of stories to tell after a season like this.
And I hope he will help us to bring Will Clyburn, Mike James, or anybody else on the podcast.
I don't know. After you picking Maccabi to win that quarterfinal series, you might have a tough time doing that.
We're good with Mike.
Okay.
Not sure how it goes with Will, who said that it was the last time he's participating in the podcast. But after winning the title, he might be way more relaxed.
Might be cool with that.
Yeah. Thanks for watching a lot. It's great to cover domestic league finals as well. Let's wish we will talk about basketball from the beginning to the end of the podcast, not about the things that are going outside the court. And yeah, follow us on BasketNews.com. Please press like button below this video. Also subscribe our channel. Enjoy Beyond Plus community, because there's a lot of off-season stuff. There are a lot of articles that exclusively only for Beyond Plus members, where we will explain a lot of free agency movements, or let's say the introduction of new EuroLeague CEO Paulius Motiejunas, and a lot of other things that will follow this summer. Thank you all for watching. Enjoy the summer and enjoy the domestic league finals.